Welcome to the Freemen project. This is the first audio address that I've created in order to better explain this movement, in the hopes that perhaps membership and enthusiasm will pick up. The reasoning behind the Freemen project is that the time has come to begin to step out of the electoral process, to begin to move forward on more radical plans. These types of actions were foreseen by the founders themselves, which is the entire reason for the existence of the Second Amendment. That is, they did foresee a future time when there could and should be force applied to the government, either to get it back into line to behave or to remove it if necessary. And that is the point at which we're at. I would argue that we had reached that point several decades ago, but at this point there can be no doubt. And why is that the case? Why is it my judgment that electoral processes are completely irrelevant and useless at this point? It's because of the complete decay and corruption of the electoral system, which we can witness in the current two-party struggle. The two parties are simply two sides of the same coin, representing marginally different interests, but nevertheless all of those interests are elite interests, or that of a ruling class. And that term ruling class has become popular relatively lately, mainly due to the fact because of an article published by Angelo Codevilla in the American Spectator called "The Ruling Class." And that article is available to read on the Freemen website. And I highly suggest that you take the time to read that article. It will answer all questions about what the two-party system represents today. And it's nothing but a political front group for wealthy elite interests. And how does that work? Well, wealthy people, individuals, corporate entities, unions, they input money into the system, and they get their desired outcome, the desired output from the system, much like a slot machine that pays out 90% of the time. So you have to ask yourself, who the hell is a politician going to listen to? You and your one vote? Especially when he can fool 90% of you 90% of the time that he's actually working for you. Or is he going to listen to the fellow with $1 million to contribute to his re-election campaign? If you have to think that over more than 15 seconds, well, frankly, you're an idiot. So you have to understand that the system is completely overrun with blood money. Elites pay for access, buy access to politicians, get their dirty work done, and in return the politicians gain access to the elite and all their ritzy functions around the nation and across the globe. Politicians love to be part of the The media elite, they love to be called on the shows. They love to be part of the Hollywood scene. This is all a back and forward two-way street between the wealthy interests in the industry and politics. Many times the same individuals traverse in between the two multiple times. But the main point to take away from this is there should be no doubt that the conventional political system is completely broken. There's nothing you can do to fix that. So the Freemen Project proposes to take matters outside of the electoral system by the application of the First and Second Amendment simultaneously. The peaceable gathering guaranteed by the First Amendment, accompanied with arms guaranteed by the Second Amendment. And the idea is, the dynamic created there is a shocking event, an explosive event that will signal to millions of Americans, those who are already angry and armed, that they need to make haste towards this movement as soon as possible, because it embodies everything that they're looking for. Now, I'm going to give you just a couple of examples to show you exactly how malevolent and destructive your own government is towards you. In three main ways, the current government, and I mean government at all levels, federal, state, and local, actively works to harm the citizen. In the first way, it harms the citizen through forced transfer of wealth. Now that may seem strange to you to hear that initially. The traditional idea of transfer of wealth by governments is from the wealthy to the poor. Well, that's the good story they like to tell, but in reality, the massive taxation rates we face today, roughly 40 to 50% when you add up everything, federal, state, local, every fee and sales tax you may encounter in your daily dealings, you're roughly a 50% slave. They take that massive amount of money out of your hide and they give it to agencies and bureaucrats to run your life, essentially. And they make massive payouts to private contractors with connections to these politicians. And inevitably, the private contractors who service government bureaucracies are owned and run by the wealthy. So there is your forced transfer of wealth out of the pockets of the middle class productive citizen into the corrupt hands of the wealthy. Just to give you an example of the types of gains the ultra wealthy have made in this system, the top 0.01% of the country in terms of wealth, roughly 30,000 people, own about 36% of the assets in the nation, of the total wealth in this country. I'm going to repeat that again. 30,000 people, 0.01%, own 36% of this country.